Ladies, gentlemen, and all you beautiful people in between, my name is Dick Slater, and welcome back to the Umamusume Horse Lore. This video is a direct sequel to my last one, so please check that one out if you haven't. But that aside, let's not waste any time and jump right back into it. Starting with Rice Shower, nicknamed the Black Assassin for having come out of nowhere and stealing wins from expected winners, and ending the possibility of making horse racing history, such as stopping the fan favorite Mejiro Bourbon from becoming the 5th horse in history to earn a Triple Crown, and ending Mejiro Mcqueen's consecutive win streak at the Tenno Spring Race. This led to him being portrayed as a bit of a villain by the fans at the time, to the point that Rice Shower never faced any cheers, only silence and boos from the crowd. Though it did not dissuade him, all his G1 wins so far have taken place at the Kyoto racecourse, and so he had his eyes set on the 1994 Tenno Spring Race. However, he had to back out a week before the race because he had suffered an injury in his front right leg, which he had faced several issues and fractures with beforehand. And due to this problem leg of his, he was considered for retirement to become a breeding horse. However, and I kid you not, because of his small size and stature, he was rejected by the broodmares. I want you to keep this in mind. Now, being forced back into racing, once he recovered, he participated in the 1995 Tenno Spring, after which there were more talks of him going back into retirement. That leg of his was becoming a bit of a concern. It was around this time, however, where the Takarazuka Kinen was set to be moved to Kyoto due to earthquake damage to the Hanshin area. The Takarazuka Kinen was a race where runners are selected by vote from the fans. Having now been moved to Rice Shower's home turf, he was one of the top voted horses to participate, and thus he was enrolled. However, tragedy struck. While rounding the third corner, Rice Shower's right leg gave in. It faced a dislocation, an open wound, and a shattered bone. The damage was too severe, and there was no hope of transporting him to a clinic. He was covered with a curtain and euthanized on the spot. He was 6 years old. Looking at the timeline of events, I believe Rice Shower got done the dirtiest out of any horse I've ever seen. He would have lived if he went through with any of his retirements. Especially that first one. My man won multiple G1 races, stopped legends dead under tracks, and what happens when he finally gets a shot to rest? To stud like a king. The mares say, nah, you're too short. That is insane to me. Too short. Brother, you deserved much better than this. These women really swiped left like it was horse tender and made you go back to the racetrack with one leg looking like a pretzel. They never deserved you anyway. His in-game counterpart seems to think a lot of the tragedy of Rice Shower's life into her personality, believing that she is a bringer of misfortune to those around her, and her outfit resembles funeral attire, possibly to pay respect to his death. She carries a dagger to match up with the name of Black Assassin. To my knowledge, Rice Shower alongside Slater Says are the only two characters in Umamusume based on horses who died from race-related injuries. Rest in peace, you legends! Agnes Tachyon, her real-life counterpart, had a very short-lived career, running in only 4 races total. He did, however, dominate each one of those races. The cause of his early end for his racing career was due to tendonitis. However, this meant a very early head start on his breeding career as a stud horse, to which he fathered over 3,000 children, leading him to become the leading sire in Japanese racehorses, producing very genetically gifted racers, even being the father of fellow Umamusume, Dawa Scarlet. His breeding career ended, however, when he passed away due to heart failure. His in-game counterpart has a mad scientist aesthetic, mostly from the combination of him creating many great racers and the tachyon part of his name, which is a theoretical particle that exceeds the speed of light. She's one of the main characters in the Umamusume movie, Beginning of a New Era, and the ends of her zippers are a 4-sided diamond, representing the 4 races and wins of her real-life counterpart. Matikanefukukitaru, who comprises 50% of the duo known as Mambo and the other one, was the one and only horse to win a G1 race from over 600 Matikane squadrons. Considered one of the strongest young horses of 1997, even overtaking some heavy hitters such as Slater Says. The Fukukitaru part of his name refers to a Japanese proverb, meaning, fortune comes to the house that smiles, which is largely where the fortune-telling theme of his in-game counterpart comes from, where she worships a fortune goddess by the name of Shiroki-sama, which is in reference to him belonging to the Shiroki family line. He had an unnamed brother who passed away at an early age due to a broken neck. His counterpart shares this trait with her sister. Also, guys, there's something very important I have to share. This one's my favorite. Oguri Cap. Despite coming from humble beginnings, he's considered a fairly influential racehorse in Japanese history, being one of the top racers in the late 80s, alongside Super Creek and Inari 1. He caused the second horse racing boom in Japan, and was one of the first horses to have plushies made in his image. Thus, he was nicknamed the Idol Horse, which was a moniker carried by Sike, the horse largely responsible for the first horse racing boom. Come across may have 3 to 5 people's perceptions of gray horses, but it was Oguri Cap who exceeded them. His counterpart is a strong reflection of the life Oguri Cap led, and is the protagonist of her own manga, Cinderella Grey, which got adapted into an anime. It is notable to mention her eating habits, which are shared with her counterpart. It was said that during his free time he would do nothing but eat and eat some more. He got fat after retirement, since he wasn't training or running to burn all the calories he was storing up. The yellow diamond crown atop her head resembles her counterpart's jockey outfit. Symboli Rudolf. Achieving a record-breaking 7 total G1 wins and only having 3 defeats, he was nicknamed the Emperor, and his wins were dubbed the 7 Crowns. After his retirement, he fathered the son that would carry his title, this being Tokai Teo. This is reflected in Umamusume's portrayal by having his game counterpart be represented as one of the greatest racers on the field, and having Tokai Teo be one of her biggest admirers. Their relationship as father and son is reflected in similarities to their outfits, and the 7 crowns are represented as medals on her uniform, and as the title of her character song, 7. Kitasan Black. Despite being considered an extremely successful racehorse and being ranked the most profitable horse in history during his prime, this dude was the biggest loser I found in all my research, and is the definition of a generational fumble. It all comes down to his rivalry with Duramente, whom he raced against 3 times and each time lost harshly in an important race. After which, Duramente retired, leaving Kitasan Black to cope and seethe about never beating this guy for the rest of his life. Is what I would say if the rivalry ended there. You see, both retired to be stud horses, as is typical, and Kitasan Black had his eyes set on a particular mare, Sweep Tosho. He looks at her with such loving eyes. His team noticed and promised her to him, but they're somewhat busy to get that raised at the moment. And now that's all fine and dandy. Except, guess who has all the time in the world? Duramente beats him to the punch yet again, and even though he got to mate with Speed Tosho eventually, he was still the slumpy seconds, leaving Kitasan Black eternally at jittery cuck. And as if it couldn't get any worse for Kita Cuck, he receives news that Duramente mated with his mom! Duramente pieced out from existence shortly after the fact, giving every L he possibly could to Kitasan Black before he could go. Some 80s movie bully top stuff right there. Beautiful. What does the Umamusume counterpart have to do with this? I don't know. Her whole characterization hinges on her friendship with Satono Diamond, which doesn't have to do much with her real-life counterparts. I mean, they barely met, and in reality, Kitasan has more history with Satono Crown, but that's neither here or there. Some would say that Kitasan did get the last laugh on Duramente, as his son, Equinox, is considered by many to be the greatest in Japanese horse racing history. But the way I see it, this dude's lasting legacy to the world is being an overpowered stat card in a gacha game. Bozo. Mejiro Mcqueen. Kerchow! But no, seriously, he was actually named after actor Steve McQueen. His predecessors in his family line before him were all G1 winners and dominated a Tenno show race, placing heavy expectations on him. Once he met with flying colors, being the first horse in history to win the Tenno show spring event twice in a row, and he would have closed it at 3 if it had not been for Rice Shower. His in-game counterpart represents this by being portrayed as part of a nobility. She shares the same history, with her mother and grandmother being both Tenno show winners, and thus has to deal with the same expectations placed on her. She has a fondness for movies, no doubt because of her name's origin. She's often seen hanging around Goldship. The two are borderline inseparable. This is due to the fact that Goldship is McQueen's real-life grandson. A notable thing about Mejiro Mcqueen's retirement is that as a stud horse, he was able to form a close friendship with Sunday Silence, who was previously behaving very arrogantly and rude around the farm. But it seems that McQueen's presence was a calming factor that eventually led him to adjusting that attitude. Sunday Silence has not been adapted into Umamusume, and he himself is a story all his own. His mere existence changed the horse racing scene forever, but for the sake of keeping this video Umamusume related, I will not be going into it. I will, however, be going over his breeding history, to which a surprising amount of his children and grandchildren comprise the cast of Umamusume. It cannot be understated how many successful children this stallion had. Just for reference, Sunday Silence was the father of Special Week, Agnes Tachyon, Silent Suzuka, Manhattan Cafe, Fuji Kiseki, Marvelous Sunday, Bubblegum Fellow, Stay Gold, Admire Vega, Air Shakur, Still in Love, Xena Roy, Air Messiah, Daring Heart, Believe, Beside Pandora, and Durandal. It should be noted he was the father of the legendary 7G1 winner Deep Impact, who is also one of the most prolific horses not yet added to Umamusume, having many children of his own. Sunday Silence having so many children leads to many of the characters in Umamusume to be at least distantly related to him. And as a fun fact, both him and Mejiro Mcqueen are the grandfathers of Gold Ship, Orfevre, and Dream Journey. Collaboration of the century right there. Alright, same as last time. I'll briefly go over some of the other horses, giving a fact or two without going much into detail. Ready? Go! Seon Sky. His jockey would often pull underhanded and deceptive tactics. The character was inspired more by that than the actual horse. Silent Suzuka. She has the left-handed skill because he would always veer to the left when walking straight, and the track he died in was a left-sided one. Hishi Akibono. Real-life horse was one of the biggest to ever compete. Big horse, big woman. Grass Wonder. He is actually the real-life cousin of ShibeDraws. Yeah. Tosin Jordan. He was based on Michael Jordan. What a isn't she black? I don't give a The 2001 Triple Crown was shared between Jungle Pocket, Agnes Tachyon, and Manhattan Cafe, leading to the trio being referred to as Jam. Happy Meek, alongside the other in-game trainer-owned horses, Lil Kokon and Bitter Glaze, are all fictional and have no basis. This went the other way around, however, as a Japanese owner who is a fan of the game decided to name 3 of his horses after them, which makes them the only case where a real horse was named after an Umamusume character, and not the other way around. Alright, wasn't that fun? So, what did we learn today? You can lead a horse to the toilet, but you can't make it piss. Well then, please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for making it till the end. This channel is still in its infancy, so if you enjoyed my style of humor or my content in general, then I'll have a lot more where that came from in the future. And please check out my previous videos too if you want to see what that's all about. I suggest taking a look at the Slater Says series, where I speak on general things in life that peeve me or otherwise. In fact, alongside a team, I'm working on another one of those as my next big project, so please, look forward to it. Once again, I urge you to subscribe if you made it this far, and share the video or channel around if you know someone who would like it. But that's all from me. I'll smell you later, horse girl later.